one of the definitions of language is a system used for communication. With this in mind, we can assume that cinema is a language. And today, I will try to teach you its alphabet. What are establishing shots for? That's an actual question. Here, have a think. Come on, faster. Oh my god, you're not following. It's not rocket science. Why do you always have to be such a disappointment? Of course, establishing shots are for establishing stuff. Thanks, man. Couldn't figure it out on my own. But what exactly do they establish? They establish the location, the relationship between the character and the environment, perhaps the action, but most importantly, the tone. Well, put an establishing shot from a horror movie and follow it with a shot from a sitcom and see if it works. So, how do you film an establishing shot? Usually, establishing shots are pretty wide, maybe even aerial, because it has to showcase the entire location in which your action is happening. Sometimes you might even want to include camera movement in your establishing shots, but keep in mind that they always have to serve the tone. If your movie is supposed to be funny and dynamic, a steady and short establishing shot can do the job. If you want to set an epic tone, you can go crazy with the camera movements. Moreover, the point of the camera movements is to lead your audience eyes. If you want to reveal a city, a slow tilt up might work. If you want to show more information, make the camera follow them in a way that the audience doesn't have to process too much information at the same time. Remember, your audience is dumb, and you don't want a confused audience. I've been confused since birth about the meaning of my existence. And the size of giraffes. Thanks. Why are they so old? Other purposes of the establishing shot can be to transition to another place or give context to the action. For example, if you want to tell your audience that the action happens in Paris, then get an establishing shot of the Eiffel Tower. A POV is a shot in cinema that puts the audience in the character's perspective. It shows you what he is looking at. And before you ask, no, POVs aren't those cringy videos on TikTok. Seeing what the character is seeing is great, since it gives so much information to the audience about the character. Considering that POVs are subjective to the character, the way the POV is filmed gives us insight on how they feel. If the POV is distorted, it shows that the character is under drugs or might feel sick. If the shot is tilted, it shows that something is wrong or feels unsettling. If the POV is high angle, it shows that the character looking is stronger than the character looked at. The opposite works with low angles. If the POV is push in, it shows that the character is thinking about what they are looking at. If the shot is really zoomed into something, that means that this thing is important. And of course, all of these shots would have had the same effect even if they weren't POVs. But the thing is that what is shown on camera is often correct. How could image deceive us? But what is shown through a character's eyes is highly subjective to their emotions and personality. A POV shot shows the impact of a specific thing on the character, and that is why it is so good. A POV also creates a connection between the character and the audience. This is why you will rarely see a POV from the perspective of a side character. This way, the director tells you who to care for and who not to care for. But how do you make a POV shot? A POV shot often starts on the previous shot and ends on the next one. Well, that's not confusing. You see a close-up or medium shot of a character looking, and then you get the POV of what he's looking at. And lastly, a shot showing the reaction of the character to the action he looked at. POV shots are often handheld and can be at eye level or maybe chest level. A POV can also be recognized if the vision is obstructed. It can be by leaves or by another character, etc. Clarity of what is shown is sacrificed for subjectivity. Favoring the perspective shots are in fact quite similar to POVs. They also show what the character is seeing. They are different in the conception and their effect on the audience. POVs show exactly what a character is seeing and create a connection with the character. Favoring the perspective shots show approximately what the character is seeing, and therefore doesn't create connection, doesn't make the audience become the character. Favoring the perspective can be done through placing the camera somewhere else than at eye level, and pointing towards what the character is seeing. You can also place the camera slightly behind the subject. This includes over-the-shoulder shots. Over-the-shoulder shots are really interesting, mostly for composition, because they can have so much meaning in the story. In a dialogue, using POVs can make the characters seem distant and unfriendly. using an over-the-shoulder shot can make them look so much closer and friendly, because you can see both of them on the same shot. If your characters are friends, family or lovers, or even enemies, it can be a better option to use an over-the-shoulder shot. Another use of an over-the-shoulder shot in composition can be explained by this shot in The Queen's Gambit. In this shot, you can see Beth, Alma, and a barrier between them. Alma is what Beth is seeing. Barrier represents distance between them. And the fact that we can still see Beth in the shot shows how much they're trying to get closer to each other. This shows perfectly the awkwardness of the relationship at this point in the story. Awkwardness. I can relate. The close-up is one of the most important shots in cinema. Close-ups can be used to show a reaction, to show that something is important, or to convey emotions, and also mostly to connect the audience to the characters. I would even argue that close-ups are the difference between cinema acting and theater acting, since they allow the actors to be way more subtle and measured in their acting. Close-ups really shine when it comes to conveying emotions. Your face is the media of your emotions, and it is the bridge between your soul and the outside world. It is faces that make us empathize with character.
Do you feel the connection between us?
This is why a close-up in face is so meaningful. And if you have great actors, you might be able to tell way more compelling stories just with a close-up rather than with hours of dialogue. With this in mind, it goes without saying that close-ups are ideal to show a character's reaction. The other use of the close-up is to show that something is important. The closer the camera is to something, the more importance it shall have in the story.
I feel like that's a bit too close.
For example, the first shot in Interstellar is a close-up on a bookshelf. And guess what will appear again at the end of the movie during the climax? Yeah. A close-up on an object that seems useless is a huge hint at a Chekhov's gun. However, you must be careful with the amount of close-ups you use in your movie. Because if you tell your audience that everything is important through your use of close-ups, then nothing will really feel important.
I get the irony now. Very funny, Mark. Well done.
A push-in is a shot in which the camera slowly gets closer to the subject. It is such a powerful and meaningful shot. Push-ins are great because they basically enhance the meaning of every other shot. Ever wonder why this shot in Interstellar is a push-in and not a close-up? It's because the intention of the director in this shot isn't only to show that Coop is sad, also to show that he is thinking, he is taking in the information. He is realizing that he lost his family, that he lost the love they had for him. Similarly to this, a push-in can show that the character is thinking, realizing a rise in tension, or maybe that he is falling in love. A push-out, however, can represent that you are giving information, that you are exteriorizing something, or it can even represent a loss of control. The high angle is used to create vulnerability and weakness. The camera is placed higher than the character to make them look smaller and weaker.
Ah, come on, it's not even funny anymore.
High angles are often used before a character's death, after being defeated, during a dangerous situation, or when he is sad. If the high angle is a POV, it increases the tension because the person with high ground can attack at any moment without the audience seeing it, and the shown character is very vulnerable in this situation. The low angle, however, makes the characters look strong and taller. It shows control of the situation. It can be interesting to alternate between low angles and high angles to create a power relationship between the characters. The Dutch tilt is an oblique shot that makes the action unsettling.
Do you feel unsettled now?
Not necessarily wrong or bad, but different. It can be used to show that the morals of a character is twisted, or right before something unexpected or bad is gonna happen. The Dutch tilt can also be used to help raise the stakes of the action. So if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave a like. That would help a lot. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.